Coming to you from the Hudson Media Group studio, this is Talking Politics, and I am the generational talent in Garden State media, and certainly I'll continue to be the weapon of mass disruption because my level of honesty, ladies and gentlemen, now more than ever is truly necessary in this era of establishment journalistic deception. That's right, it's me, Fernando Uribe. Happy Valentine's Day week, everyone, and also happy, in advance to everybody, happy President's Day weekend. Hopefully you're all doing well here as we continue with the month of February. As always, there's a lot to discuss, so let's get started. Here's what I'm thinking about right now. Now, folks, as you know, I'm the resident conservative here in Hudson County media. And one of the things that I've gotten a little giddy about over the last maybe 10 days is seeing the Department of Governmental Efficiency. Now, I get it, folks. It's not an official government agency in Washington, D.C., and we know it's being headed up by Elon Musk, arguably the wealthiest man on the planet. It's supposed to be him and Vivek Ramaswamy, but that dissolved quicker than a quick booty call over the weekend. But in any event, though, it's interesting what Elon Musk has been able to do in only these 10 days. Now, again, folks, depends on what side of the aisle you sit on, is generated enormous discussion and debate about what's going on right now with wasteful spending. And let me be very fair, folks. Both parties in Washington for decades, it just hasn't been the last 4 years. Let's be intellectually honest here. 4 decades have engaged in massive wasteful spending. And Republicans have been super guilty of it, as Democrats have been super guilty of it. But again, in this attention, economy that people are all about clicks and views and the metrics. And again, folks, we always fall for clickbait. Let's be honest. We're doom scrolling through our phones. That's what a lot of us do. And there's a lot of clickbait out there. But what we've seen for really the last 10 days since the start of the second Trump presidency has been this sort of focus on, well, let's try to at least examine what's going on in Washington. What we've seen every budget cycle is, well, what's the government spending money on? Now, listen, I'm the first one to tell you, I think we need to invest more money in helping our seniors, our veterans, certainly making sure that we can reduce the cost of prescription drugs and everything else that we try to do at the federal level, right? But folks, let's be honest, from people I've talked to throughout all walks of life, whether they're in the military, whether they're in government, there's always wasteful spending going on everywhere. But it's really taken sort of a life of its own here in recent days with, again, Elon Musk, again, via the Office of the Presidency, in reporting what's been spent with our tax dollars. And of course, under the microscope has been USAID. So let's sort of go through that and go through what has been some of the more egregious things that gets everybody in an uproar. So a shout out to the senior senator from the great state of Missouri, Eric Schmidt, who broke down some of the spending that has come under considerable scrutiny, obviously under the supervision of Elon Musk and his interns. For example, $45 million for DEI scholarships in the country of Burma. Why is that necessary? I don't know. $3 million for girls-centered climate action in Brazil. Folks, you got to love how this has been itemized, right? I mean, it would take me weeks to think of some of this itemizing here. $125 million to racialize public health. What the F does that mean? Here in the United States or globally? I don't know. It's weird. $280,000 for diverse bird watchers. I mean, listen, I love birds. Actually, my favorite bird is a penguin. Actually, one of the few, the only bird that can't fly, right? So interesting, being a penguin aficionado myself. But for diverse bird watchers, I mean, is there not enough representation in bird watching? Is it just an all-white occupation? I mean, do we need more black people, Hispanics, and who will seek employment as bird watchers? I don't know. It's interesting. $1.5 million for DEI in Serbia. Folks, with everything going on in Serbia, if you've been to that part of the world, I'm not sure if DEI is probably the most pressing issue in that part of the world, but $70,000 for a DEI musical in Ireland, which, again, folks, I mean, what the F does this mean? Like, $2.5 million for electric vehicles in Vietnam. Yes, folks, as we've come to learn, electric vehicles, number one, they're very pricey. Number two, if you've learned anything about lithium batteries, they're very expensive to replace. So once those cars break down, it might cost you more than the actual value of the car itself to replace the battery. And where exactly are they driving in Vietnam? I mean, is my vision of Vietnam different than yours? I mean, I might have to Google it, but I don't see a lot of roads in the country of Vietnam. But hey, listen, I could be wrong. I haven't visited that part of Asia. $47,000. And folks, by the way, I mean, for a trans opera in my dad's native land of Colombia. I mean, listen, we all know it's a shit show over there with the socialists there and Guerrillero ese Gustavo Petro. But really, a trans opera in Colombia? What exactly will that opera entail? And why is it so, urgent in the country of Colombia? With everything going on in Colombia, folks, with, obviously mass poverty still running rampant throughout the country. We have guerrilleros ahí, in the montañas and in the mountains and everything else. I mean, what exactly is this the most pressing issue right now, that the United States government has to give money for a trans opera in Colombia? Jesus. I mean, it doesn't shock me. I mean, I could see the Petro administration asking for stuff like this, among other left-wing nonsense. $32,000 for a trans comic book in Peru. Really? I've been to Peru. I mean, I don't know about you folks, but there's a lot going on in Peru, especially with another socialist president there. It just seems like socialism is sort of running rampant throughout Latin America. And a lot of these socialist presidents are getting elected there in Latin America. But really, with poverty and infrastructure problems in the country of Peru, is that really, a priority in Peru? Interesting. $2 million for sex changes in the country of Guatemala. Folks, when people can't even afford electricity or food or clean running water, is this really what is a priority in Guatemala? Really? $2 million for sex changes in Guatemala? Oh, here's a good one. $6 million for tourism in Egypt. Really? As if the Egyptian government needs any motivation to encourage Westerners to visit Egypt. Gee, I don't know. I wonder what's there. Oh, I don't know. Perhaps one of the most, if not the most, heralded wonder of the world, and that's the effing pyramids. Really? I mean, we need to give $6 million to Egypt to boost their tourism? Folks, it's one of the more beautiful countries in the Middle East. People visit it all the time as if they need our taxpayer dollars to motivate people to go visit the pyramids or the tomb of King Tut. I mean, really? Is this what we're spending money on? Right? But folks, again, I don't want to sort of make this sort of a comedy skit here or as if I'm doing stand-up, but folks, it almost sounds like I am. And it would be funny if it wasn't so downright embarrassing. But we've also seen, obviously, other things that have been reported through the Department of Governmental Efficiency. For example, $29 million was discovered in improving the skills of young and female Egyptians in the manufacturing and service sectors. As if the Egyptian government can't do that. They need $29 million from Americans to accomplish this? Let's see what else we have found in recent days. Oh, here we go. This is interesting. Questionable USA ID obligations. $4.5 million to fight disinformation in Kazakhstan. Folks, I could not care less about the country of Kazakhstan. I mean, I'm sorry. I don't, if any of you are, Kazakhstanians, sorry, I'm not trying to sound mean, but really? $4.5 million to fight disinformation? What's the disinformation? That, I don't know, that Pakistan doesn't exist? I mean, this is wild, folks. This is wild. Let's see another one here. Oh, here's a doozy. $31.5 million to consultants to help USAID employees with, quote, counseling, organizational resilience. What the F does that mean? Organizational resilience, wellness, and work life. Folks, if you ever need a reminder, and I get it, folks, listen, this is what people want to get emboldened about, and this is what's going to light a fire under someone's ass and get them really pissed off about wasteful spending. What exactly is organizational resilience? So kudos to Secretary of State Marco Rubio for this past week saying outright, yeah, we're going to downsize the amount of employees in USAID from roughly 14,000 to I think a little under 500 people. Because again, folks, we're seeing wasteful spending in Washington. But again, I don't want to just sort of scrutinize one side of the aisle. Because what's really interesting, and folks, I think what is the most startling aspect about this entire outrage is we're mad, and I get it, that those on the left want to say, well, unelected billionaires are having way too much influence in our government right now. Kind of funny when in the last 4 to 8 years under the Biden and the 8 years of Barack Obama, where George Soros and his son had enormous influence in our government, in the election of attorneys and district attorneys, specifically left-leaning progressive ones that have let our cities go to shit in this country, right? Or other billionaires like Bill and Melinda Gates, for example. Interesting. So again, I always look at the selective moral outrage about what billionaires you like involved in government when it suits you, right? So George Soros and Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos, they're fine. But somehow Elon Musk now is a problem for those on the left. Folks, again, all I ask is for that dreaded C word called consistency. So the moral outrage, again, tends to be very selective. Now, I understand that people might be upset about what Elon Musk is doing under the supervision of President Trump. I get it. But folks, if you've ever been upset about where our tax dollars are going to, and we know it's wasted on a multitude of different things. And I just gave you a small sample size about what's going on here. Right? What's another one here? For example, here's a good one. In 2016, USAID gifted $310 million to start a Palestinian cement factory project, as if giving money to Palestine is high on my priority list. The project was a private venture by a company called Sanad to create cement mills and factories. Subsequently, to no one's surprise, the money fell into the hands of Hamas, and thus they were able to build terror tunnels in various parts of Gaza. I don't know, folks. Does that look like money well spent here? Now, again, I don't want to sort of pick a side here. Both parties have done us an immense disservice when it comes to government spending. But it seems like a lot of you are mad at Elon Musk when you should be mad at both the Republican and Democrat parties collectively for decades wasting our taxpayer dollars. I get it. You want to be mad at the messenger. No, folks, be mad at how the message was compiled. Be mad at all the wasteful spending that Republican presidents and Democrat presidents have engaged in, Democrat senators and Republican senators, and Republican members of the House of Representatives and Democrat members of the House of Representatives. They are the ones that have done us an incredible disservice. That's why the budget the deficit continues to get fatter than the latest Victoria's Secret models out there sporting lingerie during fashion shows. So let's be fair, folks, about where to adequately place the outrage. Because right now, when it comes to outrage, there seems to be no shortage of it anywhere right now in today's attention economy. And that's what I'm thinking about right now. And now some local stories for your consideration. A special thank you to John R. Hines, fellow Rutgers alum and member of the Pinnacle, and the distinguished editor of the Hudson County Review for his reporting on this story. Now, Julio Marenco, the current assemblyman in the 33rd Legislative District, which, again, if you're not familiar with it, folks, is comprised of the following municipalities: West New York, Union City, Weehawken, Secaucus, Guttenberg, and North Bergen. Now, that drastically changed after redistricting shortly after the COVID pandemic, which coincidentally also coincided with the recent census, which is done every 10 years. As you all know, the 33rd Legislative District was very different more than a decade ago. But Marenco will not run again, citing a new job with the North Bergen Housing Authority. Now, Assemblyman Julio Marenco is suspending his reelection campaign for the upcoming June 10th primary, citing his commitment to the North Bergen Housing Authority after becoming their executive director. He said, quote, "I've dedicated my entire adult life to public service, from my time serving our country on U.S. Navy nuclear submarines to representing the people as an elected official. And I'm incredibly honored to have the opportunity to advocate for the people of the 33rd Legislative District. I believe it would be best for the constituents I serve for me to suspend my campaign at this time in order to devote my full attention to my role as Executive Director of the North Bergen Housing Authority, as well as to continuing to provide excellent constituent services. I want to thank the people of North Bergen and their entire 33rd Legislative District for their support, and I look forward to having the opportunity to once again serve in elected office in the immediate future." Now, in June, Marenco was announced as part of a Jersey City Mayor Stephen Phillips slate as part of his bid for governor, where one of 4 Hudson County incumbents, both he and Assemblyman John Allen, has since announced that they won't be running again. Now, Assemblywoman Barbara McCann-Stamato, a Democrat out of the 31st Legislative District, which again is comprised of the entire south side of Jersey City and the city of Bayonne, will be running alongside Bayonne's 2nd Ward Councilwoman Jackie Weimer as part of Team Phillips' ticket, while Assemblywoman Jessica Ramirez out of the 32nd Legislative District, which is comprised of the city of Hoboken, the Jersey City Heights, and downtown Jersey City, also remains on the slate. He also wanted to, as a result, former state senator and current North Bergen Mayor Nick Sacco said, quote, "On behalf of the people of North Bergen and the North Bergen Democrat Municipal Committee, I want to thank Assemblyman Julio Marenco for his tremendous service to our community and for his willingness to put the best interests of our residents first." Well, folks, what's really, really interesting about this is, quite frankly, and there's a little bit more to the story in a minute, but let's be very fair. Since State Senator Brian Stack in the 33rd Legislative District announced a new running mate, and that is current businessman Larry Weinstein, and again, he's also been a former North Bergen mayoral candidate on multiple occasions, it certainly changed the landscape here in Hudson County politics. As we all know, there is a civil war going on within the Hudson County Democrat organization, led by its chairman and also the county executive, Craig Guy. As we all know, that Larry Weinstein has been a thorn in the side of Nick Sacco for many, many years. Now, despite the fact that Nick Sacco has beaten him in the recent elections, it still required some time and money for Nick Sacco to run and ultimately defeat Larry Weinstein. But Larry Weinstein has not really deviated from his commitment to the community. He remains steadfast in talking to future constituents and residents. And as a successful businessman, he has contributed greatly to the local economy, as well as employing many local residents. And of course, Union City Mayor and State Senator Brian Stack saw that and saw the opportunity to bring somebody on the ticket that really matters in the community. Now, again, folks, as we all know, the ongoing pissing match between elements of the Hudson County Democrat organization continue on. As we all know, on one side, we have Jersey City Mayor and current gubernatorial candidate Steve Fulop, along with North Bergen Mayor Nick Sacco and Hudson County Sheriff Frank Scolari, along with the North Bergen Board of Commissioners, and certainly members of the Hoboken municipal government. And on the other side, as I mentioned, we have County Chairman Craig Guy, State Senator Brian Stack, along with, obviously, Sea Caucus Mayor Mike Ganelli, in addition to various members in municipal government, along with also with Weehawken Mayor Richard Turner and West New York Mayor Albio Ceres. So, folks, the battle lines have been drawn here in Hudson County, and this civil war it ultimately will continue on way past the June 10th primary. Because as we all know, should Stephen Fulop lose the primary, as many insiders are saying that he will, well, we all know Stephen Fulop is going to dedicate his time and resources to trying to, A, undermine and undercut former governor and current mayoral candidate Jim McGreevey, as well as going after county executive and current county chairman Craig Guy. So, folks, it's an ugly war. It's a very fickle war. It's very feisty. Folks, it's chippy. Not going to lie to you. It's fun covering it. It gives me a lot of content to talk about. But I got to say, though, this is a war that Nick Sacco wasn't going to win when it came to Julio Marenco. So to avoid the embarrassment of losing and being defeated by someone in the Stack camp, listen, it was a smart move for Julio Marenco to step down. Which brings me to my next story here, and a special thank you to David Wildstein, the distinguished editor of the New Jersey Globe, who broke this story just earlier this week. And by the way, folks, if you're not reading the New Jersey Globe, what are you waiting for? It's indeed the best news source for all statewide politics here in New Jersey. Folks, nobody comes close. And I get that a lot of you might say, well, you know, for a guy that, you know, has David Wildstein in his profile picture and hung out with him recently on the campus of Rider University during both the Democrat and Republican gubernatorial primary debates, yes, David Wildstein and I are friends. So if I'm putting him over here, sure, why not? We're friends. And, you know, why not feature some of his articles, which, again, provides the best journalism and the best breaking news anywhere in New Jersey media. But earlier this week, David Wildstein reported that an ally of Nick Sacco could indeed be the replacement for Julio Marenco in the upcoming primary for the 33rd Legislative District. Now, Miguel Tony Hector, a former North Bergen school board member, is emerging as a likely candidate for the state assembly in the 33rd Legislative District to replace Julio Marenco, a Democrat out of North Bergen, who announced just last week that he would not be seeking re-election. Now, Hector, a 65-year-old developer and landlord, is a political ally of North Bergen Mayor Nicholas Sacco. He is ready to self-finance a Democrat primary campaign against the two candidates backed by Union City Mayor and State Senator Brian Stack, which include Assemblyman Gabriel Rodriguez out of West New York and North Bergen businessman Larry Weinstein. Now, North Bergen Democrats called an emergency meeting for this week to discuss the next steps following Marenco's withdrawal from the race. They asked county committee members who had been circulating nomination petitions for Marenco to return them. Now, there's still no word about a second assembly candidate. Now, the Jersey Globe did report that former Assemblywoman Angelica Jimenez out of West New York and former West New York Commissioner Cosmo Carrillo have declined an offer to join the Marenco slate. Now, the recruitment of Weinstein to run against Marenco was a bold move by Stack to begin settling his feud with Sacco, the mayor in North Bergen, since 1991. Weinstein also has the ability to self-fund, so this might be a very, very interesting race here. Now, folks, as you all know, Stack and Sacco have never really gotten along, so much so that Sacco supported then West New York Mayor Sal Vega in 2007 in the state Senate primary, and Stack, running off the line, won the nomination with 77% of the vote. Now, the relationship hit rock bottom in 2022 when the legislative redistricting put the two senators in the same district. To no one's surprise, Nick Sacco quickly announced that he would end his 30-year tenure in the New Jersey State Senate and reluctantly endorsed Brian Stack. Now, Sacco's retirement came with some strings, though. Marenco, a North Bergen town commissioner at the time and a Sacco loyalist, would get one of the two assembly seats, and Gabriel Rodriguez, then serving as mayor of West New York, would get the other seats. Two incumbents and Sacco allies, Angelica Jimenez out of West New York and Pedro Mejia out of Secaucus, lost their seats as a part of the shuffle. Now, Weinstein, as I mentioned before, is a longtime Sacco critic who has run against the mayor 3 times unsuccessfully and bids to become the first Hispanic mayor in a town with over a 72% population comprised of Hispanics. The results were essentially the same in all 3 races, 65-33, 68 in 2015, 68-33 in 2019, and 71-29 in 2023. But I think it's safe to say, folks, that Larry Weinstein is going to be on a winning ticket come this June. But as I mentioned before, this is just the latest saga in what's going on right now in the Civil War within the Democrat Party here in Hudson County. Let's move to Union City, and a special thank you to James Dos Santos, the editor of HuffPost, for his reporting on this story. Now, Union City High School's Jada Guerra broke the all-time scoring record this past weekend. Now, the 5'6" guard, who plays both point and shooting guard, has been a key player for the varsity team since her freshman year at Union City High School. In addition to her high school career, Guerra represented Puerto Rico in the 2014 Under-17 World Cup. She is committed to play college basketball now, coming up in the fall, at Bryant University. She said in a statement, quote, "It feels great, honestly, and a true blessing to be able to hold such a high accomplishment like this. I couldn't have done it without my parents and the coaching staff." Shout out to Union City High School coach Carlos Cueto, big fan of this show, and a fan of my media brand, coincidentally. "They constantly push me every single day to get this moment today." Now, looking ahead, she believes the record could eventually be broken. Quote, "There's a nice young class coming in that I look forward to watching grow. I would definitely be there when it ultimately is broken." Now, Guerra's performance continues to bring recognition to the Union City basketball program as she prepares for the next stage in her career. So once again, shout out to Union City High School Athletics, who continue to lead the way in high school athletics here in Hudson County. And once again, a big shout out to Coach Carlos Cueto, who continues to sort of set the standard for the excellence in coaching in girls basketball, but in basketball overall here in Hudson County. So shout out to the Soaring Eagles at Union City High School as they continue to produce exceptional student athletes, not just today, but for the immediate future. And once again, thank you to James Dos Santos, the editor of the HuffPost, for his reporting on this tragic story here. Several long-standing businesses in Hudson County, which include Barcade, Fox & Crow, Garden State Orthopedics, and Sticky's Finger Joint, have announced that they will be closing. Now, for me, this is an especially painful one. Barcade, a retro arcade and craft beer bar in downtown Jersey City, announced it will close after a successful 14-year run. The business will end operations on June the 15th, citing the conclusion of its lease as the primary reason. Now, Jersey City was the second barcade we opened. So much has changed since then for us and the city, according to a statement prepared by the business itself. While the Jersey location is closing, Barcade plans to open a new location in Lower Manhattan later this spring. Now, folks, I got to tell you, as someone that loves video games, and yes, I don't care, judge me all you want. I'm still a kid at heart. I love going there. It's a great first date spot. I can tell you, folks, the amount of chicks I've taken there over the years, and it's a great, great atmosphere. Playing video games, having some beer, mixed drinks, a little bar food doesn't kill anybody. But, folks, you get to relive your childhood, whether it's playing Pac-Man, NBA Jam, Tecmo Bowl, Cubert, I don't know, Dungeons and Dragons, Galaxian, you name it, folks. There was no shortage of great games there at Barcade. Now, I remember going to the Barcade in the city, obviously in the Lower East Side. But now when I'm hearing that in Lower Manhattan, we're going to have another Barcade, well, I have to find an excuse to venture into Lower Manhattan later on this spring. But to the Barcade in downtown Jersey City, my hat's off to you. You provided 14 great years to a lot of residents that enjoy video games, that enjoy liquor, and just enjoy a good night out. So shout out to them. And of course, we all know many businesses suffered after the pandemic. But you know what? Barcade is resilient, and I hope to see them succeed in Lower Manhattan once they open later on this spring. Lastly, folks, it's still a few months away, but you know what? Mark it on your calendars for Thursday night, April the 17th, at the world-famous Waterside in North Bergen along the waterfront for the 2025 edition of Memories Matter to benefit Alzheimer's New Jersey. Now, folks, as you all know, I'm a very devoted philanthropist, actually an award-winning philanthropist, by the way. But I'm proud to partner with Alzheimer's New Jersey once again to help bring awareness about Alzheimer's disease and dementia. It's affecting our communities all throughout New Jersey. And I got to tell you, Alzheimer's New Jersey does a wonderful job in providing resources and helping families all throughout the Garden State. So once again, mark it down on your calendars for Thursday night, April 17th. And listen, folks, it's Easter weekend, so a lot of you will be off because it's Good Friday the following day. So you know what? If you need a reason to sort of stay out and party late on Holy Thursday, well, now you have it. Once again, for Memories Matter 2025, we are asking for a $20 donation at the door. All proceeds benefit Alzheimer's New Jersey. As you can see there with the flyer, there's a QR code, which you could also donate online that way as well. I'm proud to be joined by my hosts this year, Vladimir Carrero, Jacqueline Rodriguez, along with Lucy Costa, and Carmen Kenny. Again, we'll be greeting you at the door, and we will also be seeing you at the raffle table. There'll be lots of great raffles, folks, from restaurants, salons, and spas all throughout Hudson County. So you definitely want to mark it on your calendars, folks. Once again, for Thursday night, April the 17th, for 2025 edition of Memories Matter, where all proceeds benefit Alzheimer's New Jersey. And together, we'll defeat Alzheimer's once and for all. And that's our show for this week. Once again, to check out all the excellent content brought to you by the leader in independent media, the Hudson Media Group, please visit their YouTube page. Again, folks, it takes 2 seconds. Like, comment, share, and subscribe for all the great content you see every single week here with the Hudson Media Group, which includes Talking Politics, Hudson County View Live, hosted by John Hines, Sticky Night, hosted by Hudson County Commissioner Anthony Romano, and of course, all the great students from North Bergen High School that work here every single week. Folks, I can't say enough how proud I am to be working here at the Hudson Media Group. And folks, as we approach year 6 coming up this spring here, folks, I'll continue raising hell and talking about the issues that matter most to you every single week here with the Hudson Media Group. Make sure you check us out on Facebook, of course. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter. And also check out my own Instagram and Twitter. And also make sure you like the show on Facebook as well. Always remember, ladies and gentlemen, if it's unbiased, unfiltered, and unafraid, it's always Talking Politics right here with the Hudson Media Group. Of course, I couldn't work with a better staff. Of course, starts with its CEO and president, Patrick O'Melia, and all the great staff here in production, which make my job easy every single week. Folks, I am obviously the generational talent in Hudson County media, of course, and I'll continue to be the weapon of mass disruption for all of you, as my level of honesty, now more than ever, is truly necessary in this era of journalistic deception. Folks, it's Fernando Uribe. Thanks for stopping by, and always remember, stay classy, everyone.